as in the vast, endless grasslands of Mongolia, where the sky stretches like a giant blue tent, lived a young shepherd named Temu. His home was a traditional ger, a round felt tent that stood strong against the whistling winds. And his family's wealth was their herd of sheep and goats, which grazed peacefully under the watchful eye of the Altai Mountains. Temu was a boy of deep faith, a faith as vast as the steppe itself. He believed in the power of the wind horse, the sacred symbol of good fortune and the carrier of prayers. Each morning, he would carefully write his wishes on long, colorful strips of cloth, blue for the eternal sky, white for the purity of clouds, red for the fire of life, green for the earth, and yellow for the sun. He would tie these prayer flags, or kimori, to a long rope stretched between two poles near his family's ger. His wishes were simple: for the health of his family, for the grass to grow green and lush, and for his herd to remain safe and strong. He would watch them flutter and dance, imagining his prayers soaring on the wind, carried by the mythical wind horse to the heavens. He believed that the more the flags danced, the more powerful his prayers became. One afternoon, the sky, once a brilliant, clear blue, began to turn a menacing shade of gray. The wind, usually a gentle whisper that rustled the grass, started to howl like a hungry wolf. A storm was brewing, a fierce and sudden tempest that churned the clouds into a dark, swirling mass. Temu and his father rushed to gather the herd, their cause lost in the rising roar of the wind. The sheep, startled and scared, scattered in all directions, bleating in confusion as the first heavy drops of rain began to fall, quickly turning into a blinding sheet of water. The world became a blur of grey rain and whipping wind. Despite their frantic efforts, the storm was too powerful. When the tempest finally passed and a fragile sun peeked through the clouds, their hearts sank. The pasture was empty. The entire herd, their livelihood, was gone. Despair settled over the family like a heavy blanket. His father's face was etched with worry, and his mother's eyes were filled with a quiet sadness. They had lost everything. But Temu, though his heart was heavy, refused to let go of hope. He walked out to the prayer flags. They were soaked and battered, but they were still there, whipping and snapping wildly in the strong post-storm wind. They danced more fiercely than he had ever seen them before. As he watched their frantic, colorful ballet, a thought sparked in his mind. The wind horse wasn't just carrying his prayers. It was showing him the way. The wind that scattered his herd was the same wind that made his flags dance. With a new sense of purpose, Temu called to his father. "The flags," he said, his voice filled with a conviction that surprised even himself. "They are pointing the way. See, the wind that took our sheep is the same wind that guides our prayers." His father looked at him, skepticism warring with a desperate need to believe. Seeing the unwavering faith in his son's eyes, he nodded. Together, they mounted their horses and rode in the direction the flags were being pulled. Into the heart of the windswept valleys, they rode for hours, their eyes scanning the gullies and hillsides. Just as doubt began to creep back into their minds, they heard it, a faint bleating carried on the wind. Following the sound, they crested a ridge and looked down into a sheltered basin, protected from the storm's worst fury. And there, huddled together, safe and sound, was their entire herd. Too, an overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude washed over them. The wind had not been their enemy. It had guided their lost animals to safety. As they guided the herd back home, the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. Temu looked at the prayer flags, now fluttering gently in the evening breeze. He understood then that faith wasn't just about sending wishes to the sky. It was about listening to the world around him, seeing the signs in the rustling grass and the direction of the wind. He realized that the forces of nature and the power of belief were not separate things. They moved together in a beautiful, unspoken harmony, like the wind and the sky. Temu learned a profound lesson that day. Sometimes, you have to trust the unseen forces. They often carry your hopes and your herd farther and safer than you could ever imagine.